Good evening, everyone. Welcome and Happy New Year. I would like to welcome you to the regular meeting of the Madera City Council and the special meeting of the Madera City Council as the Groundwater Sustainable Agency and special meeting of the Madera City Council as successor agency to the former Madera Redevelopment Agency. Today is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025, and I call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. City Clerk Gonzalez.
The Madera City Council meetings are open to the public. This meeting will also be available for public viewing and participation through Zoom. Members of the public may also observe the live stream meeting on the city's website at www.madera.gov/live. Members of the public may comment on agenda items at the meeting or remotely through an electronic meeting via phone by dialing 669-900-6833, enter ID 845-3705-6298 #. Comments will also be accepted via email at citycouncilpubliccomment@madera.gov or by regular mail at 205 West 4th Street, Madera, California 93637. This evening's meeting is also available for translation through the Wordly app. You'll see on a copy of the agenda, there's a QR code. Please feel free to scan that. There's also a link on the agenda that you can click from home. Or if you are viewing on our live stream, there's also a QR code that's being displayed on our YouTube channel. We've also placed a QR code at the entrance of the council chamber that you please feel free to scan and access our Wordly translation system. I will now turn it back over to you, Mayor Gallegos.
Thank you, City Clerk Gonzalez. I would like to call this meeting to order and we'll do roll call.
Mayor Gallegos.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Montes.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Here. Councilmember Mejia.
Here.
Councilmember Villegas.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would like to call up Father John Shearer from the St. Joachim's Church, please, to do our invocation. If everybody would please stand.
Thank you, Mayor Gallegos, for the opportunity to open our city council this evening in prayer. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, amen. And I am using a prayer that was used before every session of the Second Vatican Council, which was a very powerful moment in the life of the Catholic Church. We stand before you, Holy Spirit, conscious of our sinfulness, but aware that we gather in your name. Come to us, remain with us, and enlighten our hearts. Give us light and strength to know your will, to make it our own, and to live it in our lives. Guide us, guide our city council by your wisdom. Support us by your power, for you are God, sharing the glory of Father and Son. You desire justice for all. Enable us to uphold the rights of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love and keep us faithful to all that is true. As we gather in your name, may we temper justice with love so that our decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to good and faithful servants. You live and reign with the Father and the Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, God forever and ever. Amen. Amen. And God bless you all.
I'll ask you all to remain standing. We'll pledge allegiance. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, for that Pledge of Allegiance. And before we approve our agenda, I would just like to take a moment of silence for the community of Los Angeles and cities surrounding for their devastation and our firefighters that are there still trying to contain that fire. We have several of our own fire personnel there down south. So if we could just take one moment, please. I thank you for that moment, and I'm sure they also do too. And our prayers are with all of them. At this moment, I would like my colleagues to entertain a motion to approve the agenda or any comments or concerns.
Second.
I would like to ask if we could move D4 up, if possible, because of the people that we have here that are here for the election for tonight. And just out of consideration of everyone in their time, if there would be possible that we could move the D4 up, I would appreciate it.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
Mayor Gallegos, if I may. Staff is also requesting to move item B10 from the consent calendar to continue that to the February 5th meeting.
Okay, so we have on the consent D10 to be continued to the next meeting. I have a motion to move D4 up on our agenda. Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I just had one question for our legal counsel. If D4 item is approved or someone is appointed, does that mean that person will have then the seat? If that is the case, or to continue with the remaining agenda?
They have a choice.
Okay.
So for example, if they want to immediately assume office, take the oath of office and be seated this evening, they could certainly do so. However, I've seen most candidates want to have their family participate in the process, and they can certainly do that at the next meeting without having to sit through this particular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. And Madam Mayor, if that is I'll make that motion that we move item D4, remove item B10 from the consent.
Okay. Thank you. So I have a motion for D4 and to move item B10 in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried unanimously on the approval of the agenda.
And just for my clarification, Mayor, where is D4 moved? Is it
To the top of the list.
top of the list? Thank you so much.
Yes. City Clerk?
Moving on to D4, City Council appointments to fill vacancy in Council District 1.
Oh, that won't be until the top of the petitions and bids. D4 will go to the top there. We'll still continue the agenda as presented.
Okay.
So we do public comment.
Moving to public comment. I misunderstood that. Okay, so now into public comment. The first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers shall be asked but are not required to identify themselves and state the subject of their comments. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold the comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusions should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time.
Thank you, City Clerk Gonzalez. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? Please come on up.
Good evening, City Council. DJ Becker from the MaderaNews.com. I've been reporting on the actions of the Madera City Council here in this very chamber for over 20 years. I also live and volunteer here. I have covered many city councils. Most of them were professional, effective, and cooperative public figures. The role of journalism is to hold truth to power, inform their communities, and protect the public's right to know. Why does this particular city council think they do not have to answer any questions about their actions or spending choices as elected city council members? Residents would specifically like to know, how does this city council justify the $40,000 cost of a special election in District 1 rather than agreeing to appoint someone for the remaining 2-year terms? Is it about egos and hard feelings? Is this the most responsible use of $40,000 in taxpayer funds? Residents have the right to these answers and to accountability from their public officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Becker.
Through
Through the mayor, if I just may remind the public that there is an item for the election item and the appointment item. So if there's any comments that would be appropriate to do at item D4.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello, Madera City Council. My name is Maurice Johnson, and first want to say congratulations to your appointment, Mayor Gallegos.
Thank you.
So a couple of months ago, I did bring up in a city council meeting that there was, we're struggling on the Airport Advisory Commission to have a quorum. So we just had a meeting yesterday and we're still struggling to have a quorum. And without a quorum, we can't move forward with any of the objectives or bring up any of the concerns that we have out at the airport. So being in the aviation community, I'd like to see a little bit attention brought to this concern. And hopefully the council members can appoint commissioners that will, show up. And I did apply for one of the seats on the commission. So you do have my application. I am willing to, join the commission and support. So there were other suggestions made to keep or maintain a stronger showing. And that would be to sort of revert to the old bylaws, if you will. I think they were changed, I'm not sure. But if we were to open it up a little bit, allow some of the people from out of this city, to join the commission, I think it would strengthen and give other people the opportunity to show up. There are people on the airport that work at the airport. There's business owners and operators that live in Fresno, but they show up at the meeting, and they want to be a participant. They want a stronger showing in these meetings. So it was just a suggestion. So in the event, that is my concern, like to get some help on that if yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
How's it going? My name is Rafael Teran. I'm a citizen of Madera and I have a concern here. I don't know who to speak to, but I'm not going to waste my time because I'm sick right now. So I'm just going to address an issue happened on the 11th of January at the dispensary here in Madera. I feel like we're not ready to have a dispensary here, or it should be handled properly, because I feel the security guards that were working there are not fully trained, able to carry guns. I'm just letting you guys know, I don't know who to address it to. Madera PD was called, the officer was involved, but the issue still is in my heart. I feel I can't step away from it. So, I mean, it could be feelings, it could be whatever it is, but there's video footage you could see, or I mean, the PD can see. Also, the deputy was flagged down by the security. So I was no threat, nor was I a victim, but I just felt like in my heart that it didn't feel right. Now, as for being on the streets, I mean, another issue also could be that we're not ready for that, but I mean, that's another call further. That's not my call, I can tell you. But I just tell you that going that day, on the 11th of January, it's not right. So you can call it whatever you want to call it, drugs or whatever, but it was not, did it take a toll on that, or did it take play on that part? It was just people in this town, I guess know me or know of me and are passing rumors, and it just landed in the wrong ears. Somebody who had a job at security, but still also be working security is two sides of the story. You're not just jump on one. You got to hear the other side. I was never asked to speak my side. I was just automatically judged. But it might not be important to some of you, but to me it is, because I can't walk away from this. So all I can tell you, I don't know who the names, but I do know that on the 11th, around between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. that happened. So whoever is in charge of the embargoes, I mean, I don't know. To me personally, no disrespect, you guys are just money hungry. So that's it.
Thank you, sir, for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Tim Riche. Many of you guys have met me or know me. I asked for a little bit of leeway with the public comment referring to D4. I have a family thing I need to go take care of, and so nothing major. But anyway, I just want to say that I've been honored to be nominated by Mayor Gallegos, and it was a pleasure to get to meet some of you guys and talk to you guys. But after the meeting we had the other day, it was easier for two of us to come to an agreement. And so Rohi and I sat down. I never got the cup of coffee, but anyway, but we sat down and we talked and we worked it out between the two of us. And I think it was the decision, you know, to have an election, to spend the money on election is not a good, you know, not a good thing. It's a waste of, to me, it's a waste of money. And you're gonna have to do another election within a year. And then the other one is having people vote. I agree that we should have people vote, but it leaves their seat vacant for 11 months. And I don't think that's the best thing for District 1. I think it was, and I think it's important that we have somebody in that seat. There's a lot of things going on in District 1 and we need to have representation. Likewise, in the next year, you're up for labor negotiations. And so you're going to be having conversations about salaries and raises. And one of the big things with me is that we need to make sure that we take care of our local police department. We need to make sure that those guys are out there risking their lives, and we need to make sure that we take care of them. And so it's important to me that we have somebody in District 1, we have somebody in that seat, and having a 3-3 vote or having an even number vote, I don't think is a wise thing either for City Council. It won't move things forward in some issues. And so with that being said, I think Rohi's a wonderful, I say kid, I shouldn't say that, but I've known him. I'm a lot older than he is, but Rohi's a wonderful man. He's a wonderful guy. I don't have any problems. He and I both said that. And 3 of you guys are going to get the guy that you voted for, that you endorsed. And the other 3 of you, I have 100% feeling in my heart, and after discussions, and we had honest and open discussions about it, is that you're going to have somebody that you can reason with and you can talk to. And I think he's a valuable person for District 1. I think he's going to be fine doing it. I think either one of us would have been fine doing it, but at this point, I think it's best for me. And so I endorse Rohi Zachariah for the District 1 chair. I think it's anyway, I endorse Rohi. And so anyway, that's it. That's what I wanted to say. And so thank you for allowing me to speak about D4.
Thank you, Mr. Riche. Yes.
Hi, my name is Monica Bravo. I am a community leader and I am working from my community. And the community is asking, how about you guys protect the immigrants' rights in the Madera community? I try to support my leaderships, my coworkers, and then you guys have a resolution on 2018, and I try to keep working again, and please thinking about the whole Madera residents, the families, the farm workers, and everybody is having a struggling time. They are worried about that, and we don't want to split the families, especially here in the Central Valley. And I am trying to touch your heart because you are mom, you are fathers, you are a community, and the essential workers and the leaders like me, we need your support. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comment. City Clerk Gonzalez, is there any comments online or on Zoom?
We have no one online or on Zoom. However, we did receive a few public comments throughout the day. Those public comments were emailed to council. Copies were made and they are at the podium if anyone in the room wishes to obtain a copy.
Thank you for that. At this time, I close public comment. And we will be moving on to public hearing. City Clerk Gonzalez.
Mayor Gallegos, it appears there's someone online raising their hand.
Oh, then I open public comment back up.
You know, hey, we have some concerns.
Phone number ending in 6520. Go ahead and speak, please. Phone number ending in 6520. You may go ahead and speak for public comment.
Good evening, Honorable City Council and everybody. It is good decision to save almost 40,000 of city, not to election to fill District 1 seat. I offer and present myself for above. I am resident and citizen of District 1, almost 24 years. I have big family in District 1. I had 20 years business in the city. I was appointed few years ago on different city boards and committees. Almost every honorable member know me. Please appoint me, and my last suggestion can be secret ballot kind of lottery, not to go to an election. Secret pick up any name of city, save money, including my name. I will submit formal application. Thank you very much and regards. One thing I will, if I will appointed, I will cooperate with the public work, water department, planning department, police department, fire department, and all other. I will be thankful to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment, sir. City Clerk Gonzalez, anyone else online?
We have none, Mayor Gallegos.
Okay, then I officially will close public comment at this time. And I would look at our A1 and A2 that are going to be very hefty here. So I'm going to, with my colleagues, thumbs up to move D4 to now. And I do have that unanimous vote. So at this time, we're going to move to D4. And I would first off like to thank those applicants online that put in their application and took their time to go out and put themselves out there and give us the information about why they wanted to run it for City Council on District 1. I'm encouraging those applicants, those 3 applicants, to still stay involved and get on some of our commissions to be part of the city and have a say of what happens and it's happening here. So at this time, I would like to nominate Rohi Zachariah for District 1C. Second it. Okay. At this time, we have a motion and a second. I would like to open it up for public comment. If there's any, please come to the podium at this time.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wayne Padilla. I am one of those 3 applicants that you referenced. And Mayor, I believe for the reasons that you described, the time that we took, the thought that we gave, I believe that it would be respectful to allow us to interview and then consider all of the options that you have. I think certainly with the 4 that remain, you have an ample cross-section of representatives of District 1 to choose from. So as the others have indicated, to take this further and not be able to make a decision from amongst the 4 that you have would take us into an area where we're spending money to cover this ground, to fill a position for a very limited period of time and hinder the ability of the city to move forward. So I would just respectfully ask that you consider all 3, ask the questions, then make an informed decision from amongst the 4. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? City Clerk Gonzalez, any online or on Zoom?
We have none, Mayor Gallegos.
I thank you for that. Well, I have a motion and a second. Could you please do a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Montes.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia.
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas.
Yes.
Mayor Gallegos.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with 6-0 vote.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I thought my comment was before. I thought it was part of the discussion, but I just wanted to say that I did read the packets thoroughly that were published on Thursday in the agenda. And I am very happy to be in support of Rohi. I have seen his community involvement. I am very appreciative of the fireworks show that he has led in bringing back. As I have mentioned before, I had enjoyed that since I was a child. I know all of the work that you do in the community, and not only that, but as part of the Planning Commission, I feel like it is only natural to transition into your role as City Council member. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Councilwoman Mejia. At this time, Mr. Zachariah, it is your option to either take the seat tonight or come back to our next regular meeting, February 4th, with your family to take the oath of office and to officially be the City Council member for District 1.
I don't mind waiting for the next meeting. Since I'm not really briefed on it.
Okay, but you're welcome to stay for this wonderful meeting with us tonight. Do you need him to come to the podium to make it official? Okay.
Just for the purposes of the record, a council member appointee, Zachariah, has indicated that he would like to wait to the next meeting to be sworn in and have an opportunity to do so with his family. Thank you.
City Manager Rodriguez.
Mayor, if I may, just for the newly elected council member, there is a conference next week for new council members and new mayors in Sacramento, beginning on Wednesday. While Mr. Zachariah will not be sworn in until the first meeting of February, I do think it would be appropriate for the city to extend an invitation to him if he's available to attend next week. And it again, I know it's a very short notice. It's next week, beginning on Wednesday, but I do think it would be appropriate and I'm looking over to our city attorney to make sure that I'm not stepping on his toes.
Okay.
Just to be clear, he is appointed now. He is just not sworn in. So
Correct.
as an appointed council member, he is entitled to go there if that's the rest of the council's will.
Okay. Thank you, City Attorney. I do have a comment from Council Member Villegas.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to congratulate Mr. Zacharias. We're looking forward to you to work with us and for the best of the community. Thank you. Congratulations.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Gallegos. I too wanted to extend a congratulations to Mr. Zachariah, but more importantly to the other candidates that had participated in the process. As our mayor had mentioned, there is a need in our city, obviously, with certain committees and or board commissions. And that would be a great step to get started and get to know how our city operates. A lot of you have extensive knowledge in the type of businesses that you're in. And I would only encourage you to come and participate in some of these committees and advisories, whether it be planning or advisory for the airport or other. But I also wanted to mention that the community did speak out, and I think what they wanted to see is they wanted to see us to utilize those $40,000 in a better way, be efficient with that money, and be good stewards of our money. So with that, I think this council unanimously has heard you. We thank you for the support, and again, congratulations to Mr. Zachariah. And I want to congratulate this council for making that decision and not putting the burden back on your residents. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Tim Rodriguez. Councilwoman Evans.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that did, excuse me, I got a scratchy, that did participate and put your name out to run for District 1. And I just want to say thank you so very much because this city is quite important. Each and every one of us come out every day and we live here. And the love of Madera is quite important. So I thank you for taking the time to go in and to submit your name. And to Mr. Zachariah, congratulations. I look forward to sitting next to you. Between Steve and I feel sorry for you. No, I'm just teasing, I'm just teasing. But seriously, congratulations, welcome, and be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Evans. Council Member Montez.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo a lot of the sentiments that everybody had up here. Appreciate everybody that took part in the process, right? It's not easy trying to put your name out there, and there's going to be decisions that we're going to have to make, and you're putting yourself in that situation. I do want to say thank you to candidate Rashay, putting the community in front of the self, right? And, you know, congratulations to Council Member Zachariah. Look forward to working with you. Hell of a cup of coffee out there. Cup of coffee, it must have been, right? But no.
He didn't get the coffee.
Oh, he didn't get the coffee, so you know, maybe not. But no, appreciate the leadership you shown there, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Councilmember Montez. And just echo comments also. I look forward to you being on this board with us. It's a great individuals here have their own personalities, but they are right here for the right reasons, the love of this community. And I've seen that from you for years. And I've seen that from your father, who started the first Halloween parade. I don't think a lot of you remember that, but the family has been a strong supporter of this community and always put them at the top. Family comes first, and I think community, and of course, what comes first is God. And I know that you're strong in your faith, and that says a lot, and prayers have been answered. You will be sitting here, you'll get the phone calls, you'll get the texts, you'll get the knocks at your door. It'll be exciting. It's something that people are always saying. Councilwoman Guy goes, "Why are you running again? You must be crazy." No, it's a servant's heart, and you have it, and that's what you have to be up here and to make those decisions and not take them personal, the comments that are made to you that are negative, but to know that you're there representing District 1, and not just that, this whole city. And that's what everyone up here feels, that they represent the city. They're elected by their district, but they're represented by the city. So I'm excited. My colleagues are very excited. I think the residents are being patient with us on making these decisions. It's a great decisions, and our staff is going to be elated to move forward when you come on board in February. So thank you again, and congratulations. I don't know if my colleagues would like to take a 5-minute break, because I know some of you would like to personally thank some of the people that came out to support. So we'll reconvene at 6:40. Faces in the audience, yay. Moving on to our public hearing, City Clerk.
Item A1, consideration of applications for general plan amendment GPA 2024-01 and pre-zone 2024-02 pertaining to the 19 acres of land comprised of 11 parcels bounded by Adele and Fairview Streets on South and West, and the Madera Irrigation District Canal on the north and east in the County of Madera, APN 038060017, 028, 032, and 033, and 038 110, 016, 017, 018, 019, 020, 021, and 022.
Thank you for that. And we have someone new in the here on council presenting that we have not seen at the podium, correct?
I believe that would be my coworker, Rudy. I have presented.
Oh, okay.
Times. Yes. May I go? Okay. Good evening, Mayor Gallegos, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, and council members. Assistant Planner Adelani Reda, presenting the Ellis and Fairview subdivision annexation. Project area is bounded by the streets of Adele and Fairview on the south and west side and abuts towards the Madera Irrigation District Canal on the north and east side. The project area is made up of 19.98.
Sorry, it's not projecting on Zoom. Let me try that one more time.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Sorry about that, guys. Our project area bounded by the streets of Adele and Fairview on the south and west side, and then we have it abutting towards the Madera Irrigation District Canal on the north and east side. The project consists of 11 parcels made up of 19.90 acres. From the 19.90 acres of land, 6.93 acres is considered the project site. The project site did undergo a tentative subdivision map in which the parcel of 6.93 acres is to be subdivided into 61 residential units. That tentative subdivision map was approved on the December 10th, 2024 Planning Commission, but is contingent upon the applications presented to you tonight. General Plan 2024-01 and Rezone 2024-02 are required to facilitate an annexation of 11 parcels from Madera County territory to the city of Madera. The General Plan Amendment will be changing only one of the parcels' general plan land use. From GPA 2024-01, we are only taking one of the lots out of the 11, and we are asking for the 6.93 acre lot to go from low density residential to medium density. Basically, as of right now, it's only allowed to develop 2.1 to 7 dwelling units per the acre, but is requesting to move up to 7.1 to 15 dwelling units per the acre. The rezone is required for the annexation as well. We're going to go ahead and pre-zone all 11 parcels, and as well as make sure to rezone the 6.93 acre lot in order for it to be consistent with the medium density land use. For visuals, as of right now, they all have Madera County zoning of residential rural single family district. And we're going to go ahead and take the 6.93 acre lot to rezone it into PD 3000, 1 unit per 3,000 square feet. And the rest of the other parcels will be rezoned to R1, which is 1 unit per 6,000 square feet. And all parcels will be consistent with the general plan land uses. The project was subject to an environmental review in which Precision Civil Engineering did go ahead and prepare on behalf of the city. There will be no significant effect as there were mitigation measures presented in the mitigated negative declaration, and it was reviewed and approved at the December 10th, 2024 Planning Commission on behalf of our planning commissioners. Staff is recommending that we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Madera approving General Plan 2024-01 and amending the general plan, and to waive a full reading and introduce by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Madera approving rezone 2024-02 and amending the official City of Madera zoning map to pre-zone 6.93 acres of land to PD 3000 and the remaining 12.97 acres of land to the R1 zone district to facilitate the annexation to the City of Madera. Thank you for that. I am here available for any questions. I believe the applicant is here as well, but I am open to any questions that you guys might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Planner Retta. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or comments. I see none. City Clerk Gonzalez, do we have any Zoom or comments online?
We have none, Mayor Gagos.
Okay. With that, should we, Shannon?
And just confirming
Attorney?
whether or not the question comments were directed to your council members or to the public as to whether or not there's public comment.
Okay.
I wasn't clear on that, sorry.
Me either, sorry. Open it up for public comment. There we go. It's clear. If anybody, an applicant would like to say anything, or we're good? Okay. With that, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve A1 as written.
Second.
And through the mayor, may I read the
Yes,
actual
please.
ordinance, please? And so on the second part would be waive full reading introduced by title only, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Madera approving rezone 2024-02 and amending the official City of Madera zoning map to pre-zone plus or minus 6.93 acres of land to the PD 3000 planned development 1 unit per 1,000 square feet of the site area zone district and plus or minus 12.97 acres of land to the R1 residential 1 unit for each 6,000 square feet of site area zone district to facilitate annexation to the City of Madera, annexation 2024-01. Thank you.
Thank you for that reading, City Attorney. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that report. Next item.
Item A2, consideration of ordinance text amendment OTA 2024-01, a proposed amendment to section 6-5.40 operating requirements for storefront retail facilities of Chapter 5 Cannabis Businesses of Title of the City Municipal Code to allow for curbside delivery at licensed cannabis business storefront retail facilities.
Thank you for that.
Good evening, Mayor Gallegos, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, council members. I'd like to introduce to you this evening Rudy Lukin, a senior planner who hired on with us in August. So he's been here about 6 months. Rudy really hit the ground running for us. He's been very productive. So I'm pleased to introduce him to you this evening to present this item. Thank you.
Thank you, that Community Development Director Tackett. Almost. There you go. Got it. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, Director Tackett, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, staff public, Rudy Lukin, Senior Planner with the City of Madera. I will now present Ordinance Text Amendment 2024-01. Background. So City Council adopted ordinance number 977 on June 16, 2021, which added Chapter 5 Cannabis Businesses to Title 6 Business Professions and Trades of the City Municipal Code. Background into ordinance 977. It was to accommodate the needs of medically ill adult persons to accommodate them with the use of medicinal cannabis. And the ordinance also imposed regulations to protect the city's residents, neighborhoods, and businesses in regards to any potential negative impacts. And it also included regulations for the commercial sale, delivery, and distribution of cannabis goods, and to be done in a responsible manner, and also protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the residents, and also to enforce rules and regulations that are consistent with state law. In regards to the California Code Regulations, Title 4, Division 19, Section 15402, it states that licensed cannabis retailers are allowed to conduct sales through curbside delivery. It also states that cannabis goods can be purchased by the customer, and the retailers can distribute them to the vehicle where the client is at, and that particular vehicle has to be located within the premises of the licensed retailer location. And also the curbside delivery must occur under video surveillance and meet the requirements of the point of sale in all areas. And most importantly, the retail sales will have to be verified in age. In regards to California Code Title 4, Division 19, Section 15025, licensed retailers are not permitted to operate in a drive-in or drive-through manner. However, they are permitted to deliver goods through curbside service. Now, in regards to Ordinance Text Amendment 2024-01, so the amendment replicates and mirrors all the state codes. And again, so, you know, the delivery has to be done within the vehicle, no drive-in or drive-through way. However, the vehicle has to be parked not adjacent to the public right-of-way. And again, with state code, it must be under the surveillance of video and must meet all the requirements for the point of sale. And the employees must verify the age. And again, most importantly, that this amendment does replicate and mirror the California code. Potential benefits of this amendment is to improve public health and safety in regards to our most recent COVID epidemic. In case of, folks have that ability and will be accommodated with their medicinal cannabis. And it also enhances the convenience for the customers in case if for some reason they are not able or have some type of incapacity to walk into the location, they are able to have the curbside delivery. And also for the economic viability in which there are neighboring cities within Madera or neighboring jurisdictions that also do offer the curbside delivery service. Staff recommends that the City Council waive the first reading and introduce only the title of the ordinance and determine the project to be exempt pursuant to Section 15601, subsection B, subsection 3 of CEQA, and to allow the curbside delivery for cannabis businesses and store retail operations. This concludes staff's presentation, and staff is available for questions.
All right, thank you for that report, Senior Planner Lucan. I bring it back to my colleagues for any comments or questions. I see none at this time. I open it up for public comment.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Josh Lewis, and I serve as the Government Relations Manager for Embark. We are here tonight to express our local industry's strong support for the proposed amendment to the city's cannabis ordinance, allowing for curbside pickup retail operations. The policy before you tonight aligns Madera's local regulations with state law and brings substantial benefit to both the city and the wider community. First and foremost, this amendment is proposed as a means to enhance public health and safety in our retail operations. With the recent shift to place a greater emphasis on the importance of public health, curbside pickup minimizes in-store congestion and reduces risk for customers, many of whom use our products to help manage chronic pain, disease, and more. Our customer base is wide-reaching and includes many of your neighbors who are seniors or have substantial mobility issues who may find it difficult to navigate in-store shopping. Expanding service options will also help us reach new customers and retain existing ones, increasing sales and tax revenues for the city. By adopting this amendment, you can strengthen Madera's competitive position in the regional retail cannabis market. Further, this amendment ensures Madera's cannabis ordinance is aligned with state regulations, maintaining our ability to conduct business safely and securely for all involved parties. Curbside pickup upholds all of these security features and best practices of in-store pickup, including extensive video surveillance with strict age verification methods and security oversight, ensuring that our operations remain responsible and compliant throughout the lifetime of our businesses. Our approach in any community we serve is to ensure that our operations align with the needs and priorities of the community. We are happy to share that we have engaged our community advisory board and neighbors to ensure their support for the proposed amendment as a means to enhance public safety and ensure safe access for immunocompromised customers. At Embark, we pride ourselves on demonstrating what it means to be a community-focused business. We have shown our commitment to Madera through our local hiring, our community benefits, and a robust and rigorous compliance with all state and local regulations. This amendment will allow us to better continue serving Madera in new and better ways, and we respectfully ask for your support for the proposal before you. Thank you for your time and consideration.
I truly appreciate your comment. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any comments online, City Clerk Gonzalez or Zoom?
We have none. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I will close public comment at this time and bring it back to my colleagues for a motion.
Mayor Gallegos, I'll move to approve item A2.
I have a motion and a second. City Attorney, could you please waive the reading?
Thank you so much. The motion is to waive the full reading and introduce by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Madera determining the project is exempt pursuant to section 15061B3 of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA guidelines, and amending the City Municipal Code CMC section 6-5.40 to allow for curbside delivery for cannabis business storefront / retail operations. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for your report and your comments tonight. Moving on to the consent calendar.
Matters listed under consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, a member of the public or a member of the council may request an item to be removed from the consent calendar and it will be considered separately.
Thank you for that. We are continuing to the next meeting, B10. I bring it back to my colleagues for any comments or concerns. If not, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar as written. Say what?
Second.
I'm sorry, did we go out to the public? I mean,
No,
okay, so sorry.
Open it for public comment. I see none online or on Zoom.
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for a motion.
I'll move. Oh,
A motion to approve the
Second.
consent calendar. There we go.
With B10 being continued.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Moving on to D items. City Clerk Gonzalez.
Item D1, disposal of Fresno Madera Area Agency on Aging equipment from the Millview Community Center kitchen.
Thank you. And that will be presented by our Parks Director, Aber. At the top of the list.
So I was being a little bit facetious about starting the new year right, but this is actually probably the simplest one that I'll present this year. So I'll go ahead and get started with the item. Mayor Gallegos, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, colleagues, and guests. Joe Aber presenting item D1 for the disposal of Fresno Madera Area Agency and aging equipment from the Millview Community Center kitchen. The city was contacted by Madera Unified for utilization of the kitchen area at the Millview Community Center. Unfortunately, that area is filled with old equipment that has been there for over a decade, which you probably saw in your staff report. This equipment is solely owned by FM AAA, and we need to remove it to make the space available to the school district. FM AAA has already confirmed permission for the disposal of the equipment, and they do not want the equipment back. So this leaves the disposal of the equipment as a necessary step to utilize that space. The city has maintained a written lease agreement and a joint use agreement with the school district for utilization of the center for several years. MUSD also uses the location to house the Mount Vista High School site. They would like to formally utilize the kitchen area to provide on-site meals to students at the school. For the school district child nutrition program to utilize the kitchen space, the disposal of existing equipment has to be carried out. Here's an inventory list of the equipment that's there. None of this equipment is operable. It might take somebody to look at it if they want it, but that's really not our concern. It's not ours. So if this is what's there. In what FM AAA provided the city with the equipment to carry out services under Title III, C1 and 2. These services include serving meals to older adults in a group setting referred to as a congregate nutrition program. Title III C2 also includes delivery of meals to older adults in their homes, referred to as the home delivered nutrition program. As mentioned, we haven't done this for well over a decade. They contacted us about the disposal of the equipment, and it's been granted. They've given us permission to do so. And it's that kind of at our discretion. They're not interested in collecting the equipment. They don't want to receive it back. And so it's just, they don't want it. And basically they're just asking us to get rid of it. And so the impact of this, the costs associated with the value of the equipment, the city does not own the equipment, thus no loss of revenue or financial impact would be assumed by the city. Our recommendation is that we adopt a resolution approving the disposal of the equipment at the center, and which was originally provided by FMAAA. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Parks Director Aber. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns. I see none. I will open it up for public comment. City Clerk Gonzalez, anything online or in Zoom?
We have none, Mayor.
Anybody in house here would like to comment? I see none. I will close that for public comment and ask for a motion.
Move to approve item D1 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for that report.
Happy to hear.
Next item.
Item D2, adopt resolutions approving the ROPS and administrative budget for the period of July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the city manager to present the ROPS to the countywide oversight board for its consideration and approval. The action on this item is by the successor agency.
Thank you for that. We have our Finance Director Lima going to present tonight.
Sure. Let's see. Get it.
I can now retire. It only took 2 years, but I finally did it. Oh, what's that? Okay. Good afternoon, or good evening, Council, Mayor, Council, Mike Lima, Finance Director. Happy New Year to all of you.
New Year.
It seems like it's been a while since I've been up here to talk to you. I missed you, but I think you'll see a little bit more of me in the next few months. So, but tonight I have a very straightforward item for you. We are considering the adoption of the ROPS and the associated administrative cost schedule. So consideration, we are asking for consideration resolution to adopt the ROPS, or I should say recognize obligation payment schedule. This is basically a budget that we have to turn into the state in order to get tax increment to pay the debts of the former redevelopment agency. So this ROPS will be covering the period July 21st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. And that is for the city of Madera as a successor agency to the former Madera RDA. We also have a resolution to approve the administrative budget for the city of Madera as a successor agency. Really, it's pretty straightforward with the redevelopment agency. All we have out there right now are a couple of bonds. The bonds this year are going to be the annual debt service on those bonds, $2.83 million. I will point out that this coming year, 25-26, is the last year on the 2018 B bonds. So it's the last payment of those. The 2018 A's go on till 2039, but the B's will be paid off with this ROPS that's before you tonight. We also have a couple, about $15,000 of administrative fees. This would be for the continuing disclosure that we have to do with the bonds, as well as the bond trustee fees that we have. And then our staff time is about $15,000 as well that we're asking for. So total $2.86 million is what we're requesting on these ROPS. Staff recommends the council as a successor agency adopt both resolutions. First, approving the recognized obligation payment schedule, and the second, approving the administrative budget for the period July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the city manager to present the ROPS to the countywide oversight board for its consideration and approval. And I believe that meeting is tomorrow. So with that, I've concluded. I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that report, Director Lima. Bringing it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns. I see none. I open it up for public comment. City Clerk Gonzalez, anybody online or on Zoom?
We have none, Mayor.
With that, I close public comment and bring it back to my colleagues for a motion for D2, 1, and 2, please.
Motion to approve D1 and 2.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Great job, Director Lima. Thank you.
very much.
Next item.
Item D3, Joint Groundwater Sustainability Plan 2025 Plan Amendment. Action on this item is by the Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
Thank you for that. And I think we have Engineer Director Keith on there, correct, Keith?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the presentation. Okay, you should be able to see it now.
We do, thank you.
Great. Anyway, this particular item is the Joint Groundwater Sustainability Plan 2025 Amendment. This has been in process now for 5 years since the first item was brought forward back in 2019. So I'm going to go through a little bit of background, then I'll go into more details. December 18th, 2019, the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, the original one, was adopted by City Council. In January 20th, I believe specifically around January 31st, the Groundwater Sustainability Plan was submitted to the Department of Water Resources, the DWR. September 22, 2022, the DWR review is completed. They found that the GSPs were incomplete. Part of the reason they were incomplete is we did have difficulties with a few things, such as the coordination agreement that came along late. I believe that was already approved when they got this, but they did find a few other issues. March 2023, the 7 GSPs got together and developed 4 revised GSPs, or groundwater sustainability plans. In December 2023, DWR completed its review of the revised GSPs and approved those GSPs. Included in that approval letter from DWR was a series of recommended corrective actions to further ensure that the GSPs achieve the subbasin's sustainability goal. And for January 2025, which is subject to tonight's meeting, we have the submittal of the Joint Groundwater Sustainability Plan 2025 Plan Amendment, prepped to go in by January 31st. And we also have the first periodic evaluation, which is also due by January 31st. The GSP amendment addresses multiple DWR recommended corrective actions, as I've mentioned, was in their original letter. And I just want to go ahead and give a note at this point. This is going to get fairly technical from here. Mostly, it's a lot of me reading, but it's fairly technical. I'll try to answer any questions that council may have as we go through it or towards the end. But if council would like, I can bring in one of our consultants at a later time to go ahead and get into more detail with regard to any questions that you might have. So one of the corrective actions that suggested or recommended corrective actions from DWR was all GSAs need to adopt the GSP. There's a technical approach, which was what they had is our response actually as a response was drafted that included a timeline and summary of MID's actions to approve the joint GSP. As council may recall, MID was not willing to sign the GSP at one point in time. Later, they did come to the conclusion that they could sign it. They did sign it. Therefore, all GSAs need to adopt the GSP requirement or recommendation actually was fulfilled. Corrective action number 2, the GSAs must continue to coordinate. Specifics as part of that are the GSAs must continue coordination and eliminate areas of disagreement. The GSAs should come to a consensus regarding the data and methods utilized to develop a refined future water budgets for the entire subbasin and an agreement regarding the availability and use of more detailed data as it does become available from each GSP area. The approach that our consultants and therefore the GSAs took was the adoption and use of the mixed sim groundwater flow model by all GSAs within the subbasin. Originally, when we started this 5 years ago, we had 4 GSAs that were presenting one groundwater sustainability plan and 3 other GSAs with 3 separate plans. Our particular GSP always had a groundwater flow model. The others had various different methodologies included. They all seem to be on board with that now. Facilitation support services, Madera ID, Root Creek, coordination agreement, stakeholder engagement. The coordination agreement is part of the GSP. That's a specific recommendation to council that be approved. And there is a copy of that in the staff report itself. DWR grant for SB 552 compliance, domestic well mitigation program refinement. Madera County was granted was provided a grant to go ahead and assist in coming up with a well mitigation program. We have a draft of that. There still needs to be some work done on that. And then they were looking for recurring technical between the various GSAs. Those have occurred a little bit often, less often, say, than the joint GSA or GSP meetings. The GSA's party to the GSP agreement, we've been meeting fairly regularly every 3 or 4 months, sometimes 6 months. Corrective action number 3, clarify the relationship between the groundwater level, sustainable management criteria, and other sustainable management criteria. This is where it starts to get somewhat more technical. Revise the recommendation was to revise the GSPs to include a discussion of the relationship between the SMC for chronic lowering of groundwater levels and other sustainability indicators, including an explanation of how the SMC, including interim milestones, were established to avoid undesirable results for each of the other indicators. The approach to that was taken in the GSP was there's discussion added on groundwater level / subsidence connection and evaluation through modeling. The subsidence package was built into the MixSim model update. Additional 1D subsidence modeling was completed. There was clear and consistent nexus between groundwater levels and subsidence that was added or defined within the GSP, and subsidence-related critical infrastructure interviews were held. There were, as an example, for the city of Madera, we were asked if we had seen any significant subsidence within the city, and Public Works would likely be the department that would see that because they have most of the infrastructure in the city that they maintain. Our Public Works department had not identified any significant subsidence. Also, then next bullet point clarified that the groundwater level subsidence are separate sustainability indicators with different metrics, and the most restrictive SMC would govern. Corrective action number 4, land subsidence related updates. They would like to see it describe clearly the significant unreasonable conditions that the GSAs are managing the subbasin to avoid. As I indicated, Madera has not necessarily seen any, but other agencies might. But I've not been made aware of any specific ones that are significant. Reevaluate the qualitative metrics that define the undesirable results. Identify the cumulative amount of subsidence that, if exceeded, would substantially interfere with groundwater and land surface beneficial uses and users in the subbasin. The corrective actions that were placed into the report are actually, I'm sorry, these are still the recommendations. Revise the GSPs to include the discussion of the relationship between the SMC, sustainable management criteria, for land subsidence and the other sustainable indicators, including an explanation of how the SMC, including the IMs, were established to avoid undesirable results for each of the other sustainability indicators. Reevaluate or eliminate the application of the level of uncertainty as it relates to subsidence measurements. In other words, clarify that the sustainable management criteria can't continue into perpetuity. They've gotten more specific about how much subsidence would be allowed up through 2040, and they do allow it to accumulate. So there's a maximum by the year of 2040. Describe projects and management actions that will be implemented to minimize or eliminate subsidence, and with details and schedule. Now, the approach that was taken in the GSP clearly described the significant and unreasonable conditions the GSAs are managing the subbasin to avoid. It reevaluated the qualitative metrics that defined an undesirable result, identified the cumulative amount of subsidence that, if exceeded, would substantially interfere with groundwater and land surface beneficial uses and users in the subbasin, revised the GSPs to include a discussion of the relationship between the SMC for land subsidence and the other sustainability indicators, including an explanation of how the SMC, including IMs, were established to avoid undesirable results for each of the other sustainability indicators. The technical approach continued for corrective action 4. Clarified the level of vertical measurement uncertainty as it relates to subsidence measurements. Clarify the sustainable management criteria so that the subsidence can't continue into perpetuity. Describe the project management actions that will be implemented to minimize or eliminate subsidence. MO and MT for zero subsidence remains the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and go back to my little cheat sheet. MO is measurable objectives and MT is minimum thresholds. And the IM is interim milestones. They were modified to 5-year cumulative totals. Continuing with corrective action 4, exceedance of IM would trigger formation of a working group to evaluate and implement additional potential measures. Example, pumping reductions. There are certain GSAs now that are outside of this subbasin that are seeing limitations in pumping requirements. They are there are lawsuits starting to occur in other subbasins as a result, as farmers are being told they have to substantially limit the amount of pumping that they can do. The undesirable result definition was revised to be an exceedance of 25% of representative monitoring sites. There are multiple monitoring sites throughout this subbasin, and we have 25% of those have to exceed the exceedance before we start looking at a formation of a working group. There are 2 additional San Joaquin River Restoration Program benchmark stations with data since 2017 for a total of 9 RMS, which is the restoration. I'll go back to that representative monitoring sites. The subsidence work plan would provide for an expanded RMS network. And the MixSim regional subsidence modeling predicts 0.1 to 1 foot of active subsidence across the subbasin related to predicted declining water levels from 2023 to 2030. I had to go back and look at this earlier when the 2023 to 2030. The model has predicted through 2030, but I believe that the maximum was 1.5 at the year 2040. And one last bullet point on corrective action 4. 1D subsidence modeling at 2 specific locations, a couple designations there near Lavina to provide estimates of potential residual subsidence. I'm just going to stop here for a second to go ahead and indicate that what you see here in terms of this presentation was based upon based upon a public hearing that was presented on December 5th. So much of this, or the vast majority of this, is duplicated. So this is a canned presentation, and it's a fairly detailed presentation, but you can see what's going into the GSP. There's a lot of work that went into this, and there's the attachments to the presentation or to the staff report. I believe that's coming up on 5,000 pages. So there's a lot of work that goes into this. Getting back onto the PowerPoint, corrective action 5, hydrogeologic conceptual model. They would like to see the uncertainty concerning hydrogeologic conceptual model and description of hydrogeologic conceptual model data gaps, and reevaluate the qualitative metrics that defined an undesirable result. To that end, they added additional description of principal aquifers, aquifer confinement, etc. They reviewed each data gap previously identified and described how that has been or is being addressed. In many of the data gaps, they just need more information. Time is filling in some of those gaps. Other gaps, they may need to have additional wells to pick up the data in terms of water depth and the like. They discussed or refined work plans, such as the subsidence or ISW, which is the interconnected surface water portion of this. I'll talk a little bit more about ISW when we come up on that. Described other specific details as relevant, nested monitoring wells and their benefits to geologic understanding and monitoring. Nested monitoring wells I find that kind of interesting. What that is a well casing with multiple tubes inside of it where they can go ahead and measure the water level or check it for water quality at various different levels below the ground. It opens up to be able to take the water in at various different levels. So when it says nested, they have nested various different tubes inside a larger casing. Corrective action number 6, sustainable management criteria for the water quality. They revised the definition of undesirable results so that exceedances of minimum thresholds caused by groundwater extraction are considered in the assessment of undesirable results in the subdivision or subbasin. Clearly define what the plan considers a UR for degraded water quality by describing conditions that it would consider to be significant or unreasonable. Identify which minimum threshold values, either the MCL, this is the maximum contaminant level, or existing concentration plus 20% that will be used at the representative monitoring sites. Justify how establishing minimum thresholds at the higher of either MCLs or existing concentrations plus 20% does not constitute significant and unreasonable effects as defined by the GSP. Their technical approach to those recommendations was to add additional text to better describe the specific water quality degradation GSP is trying to avoid. Modified the text to incorporate overall basin groundwater extraction along with the project management actions as potential causes of groundwater quality degradation. All GSP technical experts agreed to adopt joint GSP constituents. That's the TDS, total dissolved solids, nitrate, and arsenic, and the minimum thresholds approach. Example, the maximum content or contaminant level or the baseline plus 20%. Continue with the approach, added a technical justification for the 20% increase allowance, updated the GSP to include all GW quality data collected for the RMS data, will further develop baselines for RMS and periodic evaluation. The amended coordination agreement, which is mentioned in the corrective action in 2, that is the second coordination agreement or the second amendment to the coordination agreement. This particular amendment only changes the expiration date. It goes from December 31st, 2024 to December 31st, 2040. So all the original provisions that were in that are still there. They'll be effective till 2040. Additional topic, internet connected surface water. The amended GSP includes a memorandum of understanding establishing an interconnected surface water working group. Now, internet connected surface water is where water tends to be connected in some way from place to place to place. As an example, if you see water along, say, the river, and it might look dry at the surface, there might still be a subsurface connection to the next one. It's the goal of the GSP to maintain that interconnectivity. The loss of that interconnectivity can have impacts, though it's been a while since I read that, but they would be environmentally undesirable. This is not this particular agreement was not recommended as corrective action in DWR's approval letter of December 2023. It does assist in providing greater consistency between ISW work plans. It commits to the parties collaborating. This is not just the city of Madera with the other GSAs. It's the GSAs with representatives of other subbasins. And it commits to the parties sharing data regarding the ISW and establishes a technical committee. It does not commit funding. I do not anticipate that the city of Madera will be involved in this. The nearest place where there is a ISW or interconnection would be near the San Joaquin River. I asked about this a couple times and was trying to clarify that before we place the this memorandum before you. So I don't see this ever becoming something that the city will be thinking about. The additional topic, PMA updates, those PMA, the project management actions were revised and added to this plan from the 2023 plan. The Madera Subbasin GSP periodic evaluation. This provides a written assessment of the progress towards implementation of PMAs and the overall goal of the sustainability in the basin. The evaluation in general indicates that the subbasin GSAs remain on track to achieving the subbasin sustainability goals. This is evidenced by current groundwater conditions when compared to the 2025 interim milestones. There still is, you still are seeing the water table drop, but many of the project management actions are going into place, and our consultants feel good about what they're seeing on paper. Tonight's action to consider the discussion relative to the GSP 2025 amendment, the Madera Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan periodic evaluation, the second amendment to the Madera Subbasin Coordination Agreement, the Memorandum of Understanding establishing an interconnected surface water working group, and the recommended action to approve and adopt the GSP 2025 amendment, to approve and adopt the second amendment to the Madera Subbasin Coordination Agreement, approve and adopt the Memorandum of Understanding establishing an interconnected surface water working group, and to authorize the city engineer to take such other actions necessary to submit the GSP 2025 plan amendment, second amendment to the Madera Subbasin Coordination Agreement, the Memorandum of Understanding establishing an interconnected surface water working group, and the Madera Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan periodic evaluation to the DWR, and to implement the purpose of that resolution. This is a mostly complete list of the acronyms used. I apologize if I was going in and out of them. I do realize I was talking relatively quickly. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can at this time.
Thank you, Engineer Director. I just have to tell you that I'm sure my colleagues feel the same way. We are truly blessed to have you here in the city. I've been on 8 years and I've heard about the GSP and have been involved. And about one thing I can say, the city, we've always been good with water, and our residents have conserved when we needed that. But for you to know all of this and to sit through meetings and represent us as well as you do, I thank you for that. This is not easy lingo. It's not an easy thing, but water is important. It's the most important thing we have in our city is water and wastewater treatment. Got to have that, or us up here it all. So thank you, Keith, with all that, from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for the time that you put in, and I know it's a job, but I feel you, and I'm sure my colleagues feel you go above and beyond. You look after this community, you look after the residents, and you're always asking the right questions and making sure that you have the answers to come back to us with the information that we need, and lay it out to a point where we can really understand it and be able to go out into the community and answer the questions when I at least can. I have feel that I've gotten the GSP underhand, but not as well as you are. You're way above that to me. But have that information. I can always call you and I know I'm going to get that answer right away and be able to respond back. So thank you very much for that. I do have Mayor Pro Tim Rodriguez here for a question.
Thank you, Mayor Gallegos. Keith, thank you for that intense presentation there. I know it's a lot of, there's a lot of information. But, a question that I have, these plans that we're doing here, we said the plan for 2025, and in that report, it shows that we revisit these plans. How often? I know there's amendments being done like tonight, but how often are we checking for accountability and measures? Is it every 5 years?
There's a check every year, actually. When the original GSP was completed in January of 2020, and every year there is an annual check-in. It's a fairly short submittal to the DWR. It quickly goes through to look for things like the groundwater level. The groundwater levels are dropping greater than the interim milestones. If they see certain things happening, those annual reports can be used to say we need to go ahead and reconvene and start looking at is the data wrong? Do we need to go ahead and convene the technical committees and look at additional project management actions? That also gives the state the ability to do that. Now that happens every 4 years, and then on the 5th year, they will do a major update. That's a bit of what happened here on this major update. You'll note that from the presentation of the report that there was that the groundwater model was expanded. It has new data. It now includes a dramatic increase in data relative to subsidence. So with those additional items added, it gives the ability to get a clearer picture of whether good things are happening or status quo or hopefully not to the other way. In addition, that report is, I'll call it kind of dry. It gets to the facts and says this is what the plan is. But then the periodic valuation starts to make, in my review, it starts to make conclusions as to how the groundwater sustainability plan is doing its job. So it's 1 year evaluation. I went long, I know. It's 1 year evaluations for 4 years, and then a major update on the 5th year.
Okay, and in your perspective in regards to when we started this back in 2020, are you seeing that? I mean, in paper, it sounds good. Seems like we're doing a lot of the good stuff on paper, technical corrective actions and what have you, but you're still drawing water from the basin, the sub-basin. I mean, the way I look at it is in several years now, we'll be reaching 2030 and we'll have 10 years to reach a certain level of balance, so to speak. But I mean, it seems like there's a lot of language, but what are some of the physical events or actions that we've actually done to see the deterioration of these groundwater levels?
Let's see, there's a little bit to unpack there. The city itself we're pretty much 97+% complete with our actions that we need to do as part of the GSP. Madera Irrigation District is substantially complete. And the county, they've indicated that they're doing well in many respects, but they've been hamstrung by a lawsuit with regard to their ability to collect assessments for the purposes of doing things like buying property and building basins to do additional groundwater recharge and the like. Things that I'm a little bit I'm uncertain of right now is this last year is we've seen the water, my last review of our water wells. We've seen water tables drop by 5 feet or more, and we've seen our capacity drop. So we're trying to get a better handle on what's going on with that. I do see good things happening, and I pay attention to our consultants. They say things are looking good. I take them at face value, but we do need to keep watch of our own interests. Our wells seeing good things. We're not yet seeing positive impacts on our wells. There may be a number of years before we see that. I'm not quite sure we're in or out of a drought right now. I feel like we're in a drought, and that has an impact on anybody's ability to make this stuff work. The models assume that droughts will happen. But it doesn't assume that droughts are happening one after another.
Thank you, Keith. I know you'll keep a vigilant eye and your ear to the ground. Again, for me, like you mentioned, I think the city has done all it's supposed to do to keep ourselves, in balance. But we can't really dictate what takes place outside of the boundaries that actually we draw water from. So that's why I pose the question is, I know there's a lot of language out there, a lot of lingo, but at the end of the day, how does that impact us in the city? And I think you just said it there, that we're not seeing a positive restoration of that groundwater yet.
Not for us, yes.
Yeah. So thank you again for keeping an eye. I always look at it like, always have a doubt until you can see the evidence, right? So,
sure.
And Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. Any other colleagues? I see none, so I open this up for public comment. I know everybody wants to come comment on this great report. Do we have anyone on Zoom or online? City Clerk Gonzalez.
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you. With that, I close public comment and I bring it back to my colleagues for a motion and a second.
Move to approve item D3 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to, thank you, Engineer Director, for that great report. Moving on to E, Administrative Reports, City Clerk Gonzalez. E1 is yours.
Item E1, 2025 list of annual proclamations. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, I bring before you item E1, 2025 list of annual proclamations. This goes back a couple years. At the July 19th, 2023 City Council meeting, Council approved a resolution officially adopting a chapter within the Protocols Guidebook titled Ceremonial Documents. The policy aims to define the protocols, procedures, and standards concerning the city's ceremonial documents. And annually, staff will prepare the proposed list of proclamations for the upcoming year. Modifications to this will require a majority vote. Council members may submit a request to the city clerk to be omitted from signing any of the documents. Before you, you will see a draft list of the 2025 annual proclamations. These just basically they carried over from what we had last year. So tonight, staff is recommending council approve the proposed list of proclamations for the upcoming year. Now turn it back over to you, Mayor Gallegos.
Thank you, City Clerk Gonzalez. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns. I would like to have my colleagues help me entertain in April adding National Volunteer Recognition. And that would be in discretion of the council for that nominee. And add in November honoring our veterans. And again, that would be a discretion of the council to pick that person to receive those? Okay, I got thumbs up. 1. Okay. I have a unanimous vote to add those two. With that, I open up to public comment. I see none. Are there any comments online or Zoom?
We have none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, I would like a motion from my colleagues.
Motion to approve E1 is written.
And
The
amended.
Adding the to the November and the, what did you say? April? Yes, adding both of those.
Thank you for that motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, City Clerk Gonzalez, for that report. Next item.
Item E2, Landscape Maintenance District, Future Assessments and Funding Methodologies.
Thank you. And that will be presented by our admin administrative analyst, Say.
Good evening, Mayor. Let me share my screen with you. Can everybody see that?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nicole Say, Administrative Analyst with the Engineering Department. Tonight's presentation is on, let's get this out of my way here, I apologize. On the Landscape Maintenance District Future Assessments and Funding Methodologies. Just a little background, per Government Code sections 22620 through 22631, which includes the Street and Highway Code, requires the city to undertake proceedings for each fiscal year during which an assessment is to be levied and collected within its existing landscape assessment district. Due to developments in law, certain previous methodologies are no longer available, and as such, staff is seeking direction from council on those items affected by these opinions. To account for anticipated cost increases in maintaining and managing LMD zones, assessments have previously been adjusted in one or more of 3 ways as part of the annual engineer's report. Assessments were increased as necessary up to the base amount in the original covenant. When expenses exceeded revenue that could be generated by the covenant base amount, assessments were increased via an escalation clause if included in the zone's covenant. And if neither of these 2 options was available, then the Proposition 218 process was initiated. However, developments have resulted in certain methodologies no longer being available. This now includes certain cost of living adjustments, also known as COLAs, and negative fund balances. And as a result, the following changes were implemented. COLAs would no longer be applied to certain zones. Negative fund balances older than the current fiscal year at the time of the following year's engineer report as being repaired are no longer carried forward if they cannot be addressed by reserves. The previously used carry forward method allowed for the zone to potentially catch up over time as assessments were increased. These updates have resulted in operational loss to the LMD zones, which impacts the general fund. These operational losses leave the city with one of 3 alternatives each year. We can reduce service levels to match the level of funding available in each zone. The city covers the shortfall via contributions from the general fund, or the city can again pursue the use of the Proposition 218 process. This process utilizes ballots that are mailed out to residents of the affected zone, ask them to agree to an assessment increase. And of that, it generally requires 51% of returned ballots to agree to such an increase. Of the 3 alternatives above, each present a different challenge for the city to consider how assessment should be considered as part of future annual reports. Reductions in service are typically not favored by residents. History suggests that the council and city will receive complaints from property owners. Additionally, if reductions are widespread that result in unkept landscape areas, it could change the perception of the city. Over time, the cost to the general fund offsetting the LMD program will increase with inflation and depletion of existing reserve balances. And the Proposition 218 process ranges from minimal success to 100% failure. The cost to undertake the Proposition 218 process may even outweigh the benefits unless the outcomes can somehow be improved. A potential alternative might be to attempt combining each of the 80 LMD zones into a single citywide zone. The benefits of which include efficiency, which management of a single zone compared to the 80 separate zones we currently have saves time not only for field staff to manage it and do all the office things that we have to do, but people in the field as well. They don't have to worry about, tracking, zones. If it's just one zone, it makes it easier for field staff. It could cause a drop in assessment costs. Some parcels will experience a reduction in their annual assessment, such as happens in Zone 51. Future development, as future development occurs in the city, that will all be annexed into this potential single zone, adding to the number of parcels in the LMD program, which would then in turn spread the cost among a greater number of parcels, which would lower the cost for each individual parcel and property owner. We'll move on to some just kind of financial metrics. This is the actuals from the 23-24 engineers report. You can see we have total revenues of $453,182 with expenses of $331 and operational budget deficit, of $44,635. Now you will notice that if you take the numbers as they appear, you would think that this budget deficit would be higher, but this is only $44,000 deficit because of the surpluses in each zone. So if they have a surplus of a fund balance, it absorbs those losses until it eventually runs out. So as of 23-24, there's enough that the actual deficit hit to the general fund was offset. The average assessment per parcel in 23-24 was $72.93, and zones where the expenses exceeded the revenue received was 73 of the 80 zones. Projections for fiscal year 24-25, total revenue $479,896, and a total expenses of $611,622. Again, this is recapping the budget deficit from 23-24, and then the projected operational deficit for 24-25 is $62,643, which combined would be it's a little over $107,000. The average assessment per parcel is projected to be $75.03. And some zones, you notice a slight improvement. Zones where expense exceed revenue has dropped to 60. Now, again, we have kind of touched on this a little bit, how this, this adds up to the $107,000 or $103,000, but also these expenses, they include the hard costs provided from parks, overhead, and other things like filing fees, utilities, all that type of thing. Something worth noting is that park staff is recommending for additional landscaping staff for fiscal year 25-26, which would increase landscaping costs for the program and in many of the zones, and it would ultimately affect how quickly any zone that has a surplus, how quickly they might be depleted, and it would have some impact to contributions from the general fund. Now, this is just kind of a hypothetical, if you will, potential zone consolidation metrics. These are not any type of final numbers because obviously it is somewhat dependent on the numbers from any given year's report that we go into it. But the goal is to have revenues and expenses at least be equal. So we are not having a deficit. We're not keeping large surpluses because that is against the Landscape and Lighting Act. So in this, we think that we have a chance as it stands now that we could potentially consolidate the zones, and with some savings from efficiency gains, could potentially get it down to total revenue expenses of around $506,000. The average assessment per parcel is $86.85. Now, the last two ones are something that I would like to draw attention to, and this is what we touched on as far as property owners needing to vote majority in favor of this. You'll notice that there's over 2/3 of property owners would experience an increase of approximately $49, whereas only 1,928 would experience a decrease. In this scenario, as we have it currently projected, this would likely fail just simply by the virtue of there being more property owners experiencing a increase than a decrease. So that's kind of one of the biggest hurdles of the Proposition 218 process. And this is kind of just outlining what we just discussed. It makes it incredibly hard sometimes to for this process to be successful. In the long term, though, the addition of more parcels into a citywide zone would most likely cause assessments to decrease for all properties. The greater number of properties you have in the program, especially if they don't bring any new landscaping to the landscape maintenance program, it just simply spreads the cost out among more property owners. The problem is that some property owners may be more concerned with near-term effects rather than the benefits over the long term. And although assessments are expected to decrease over time, for 69% of property owners, they would see an increase in assessments if zones were merged. And that's recommendation. This is reports for informational purposes. There's no official action required. However, staff does seek council direction for future methodologies. And with that, I will send it back to council for any questions or comments.
Thank you for that report. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns. I see none at this time. I open it up for public comment.
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any online or on Zoom?
We have none. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gallegos. I know that this has been an ongoing concern for the city. More importantly, when we run deficits to our general fund, but I was hoping to hear from not only our city manager, but maybe a staff to let us know. I mean, we know the recommendations that are out there. Prop 218 may not fail. I think we've done that in the past, and per your report, there's other methodologies that we've done from time to time. But what is a more practical approach to be able to try to try to make sure that we collect the revenues so that we're not always at a deficit every fiscal year?
If you don't mind, council member, as the city manager and I are looking at each other, going back and forth. We represent a variety of cities who have run into this exact issue. The good news is your city has grown over the last third of a century. The bad news is 91% of your districts are no longer paying. And there are 91% are no longer paying their fair share in order to keep themselves afloat. And you have all these different LMDs that are out there. Ideally, consolidating them into fewer ones would be best from an administrative procedure. It would be best for a long-term solution for success. As a practical matter, that's probably not going to happen here, just because the prices are going to go up for the 91%. It won't be quite 91% who aren't paying their fair share. So what I've seen in other jurisdictions, the three approaches that have been outlined by Nicole, I've seen them try to run a Prop 218 process, and those usually fail. If people are not willing to pay their fair share, they're usually not willing to step up unless something dramatic happens. I have seen some cities say, be very clear, say, if you guys, if you don't step up, this is what we're going to have to do. And that usually doesn't get through to people until the trees start getting cut down. And then you have a bunch of people coming in saying, why are you cutting down our trees and taking out all this landscaping that we're not being willing to pay for? Why are you doing this and you're not beautifying our city? And that can be especially problematic during election years. So one of the approaches that I have seen that has at least some success is it takes more time, it takes more money, but sometimes people will create renderings of what your streetscape will look like without the trees and without the maintenance. And they will say, hey, community, this is what you got a choice. You can either pay your fair share or you can, this is what we're going to have to do over this period of time. Which one do you prefer? And that puts it back into the people's choice as to what they want to do. So If they decide that they don't want to approve the Prop 218 process, they've made that choice. The problem is it doesn't just affect the people in that district. As a practical matter, you and I are driving down the streets and we're going to see those changes as well. So there's really not a good solution to this problem. I don't know, Arnoldo, if you have any additional thoughts.
A couple of other additional thoughts is to take a harder look at the 81 districts and start to assess which districts are more labor intensive and what's in those districts. For example, we still have some districts that have turf. They have lawns. One of the things that we can start doing is removing the lawns. So thereby reducing the amount of labor and the irrigation that happens within those areas. The other thing that we can start doing is you start removing some of the small growth bushes that are labor intensive, because every time we send staff out there, we have to water them, we have to trim them. So then what you end up with is a slightly more barren landscape where it's dirt and trees versus turf. Turf looks nice. I absolutely love turf. The problem is it's labor intensive. Whenever you have labor intensive, it creates additional challenges just because of the amount of staff time it takes. I'm going to speculate and say that if we start to remove turf, we will receive complaints. Something else that we can begin to explore is changing some of that turf with more xeriscaping or decorative rock, but that's going to come at a cost as well, because again, these LMDs are they're running at a deficit. So if we start to remove things and we start to replace them, it would be absorbed by the general fund. But at that point, we stop the bleeding a little bit. The challenge with that, of course, is some community members will say, you've removed it, now my LMD cost should go down because we no longer have turf. So there's a couple of strategies to it. None of them are good. I wouldn't say we have any good options. We have potential options, but there's negatives associated with all of those. I think in the immediate, one thing we could start to do, and I'm not going to say do it tomorrow morning, but I think rather sooner rather than later, is we start removing turf. And I'm not saying we're going to go out there and remove it. We're just going to let it die. And then we remove it and it becomes dirt. We will receive complaints from the community.
Thank you, City Manager Rodriguez, and also Shannon, thank you. Now, of those 81 districts, and Nicole, would you be able to tell me like the concept, where these lie, the majority of these districts that are not meeting their expenses? I mean, as far as are they scattered all over the place, or would they affect a certain part of our city, like a certain sector of our city?
I'm sorry, my internet connection appears to be failing me, but tonight it sounded like your question was what's the distribution of zones that are experiencing a deficit in terms of their distribution across the city? Am I correct?
Mainly locations. Are they more on the west side, east side of Madera? Are they scattered all over? Majority.
I do have them. We do have them. We do keep a spreadsheet of which zones are at deficit. I do not have the map in terms of where they physically are in the map memorized, but to the best of my recollection, they are fairly widespread across the city, skewing a little bit more towards some of the older areas. So like Zone 1, which would be the Airport Business Park. Zone 2 would be a little bit south of that. Some of those zones, which were created in the early 90s, had no type of escalation clause or anything built in, no maximum covenant amount that could be reduced to. So essentially in some of those zones, the amount that was set, I guess it was in 1992, I think when they started, they're essentially paying close to the same amount in some of those zones, depending. So it skews a little bit more towards probably the zones 1 through, let's say, 9 maybe, but it is fairly across town.
And now, what contributed to the decline in the zones? You had gone from one fiscal year of 73 to the following at 60. What was the purpose of that decline?
So the reason for the decrease is essentially it's just as the zone surpluses are depleted, they can absorb less and less of those deficits over time. Essentially, is why they keep decreasing. So as as they're continually not generating enough revenue to cost those to cover those expenses, any surplus they had are whittled down until eventually each year is just a loss. Is essentially the reason why the deficit amount goes up each year.
Thank you. And, I think the impression people have when they purchase a home is that their property taxes cover it all. But I mean, I guess I was reminded at one time that property taxes, at least 50% of that go to the state, and those are for schools. And then there's a certain portion that comes back to us. I think once we look at the numbers, that alone for the services that are being provided are not adequate to support some of these services. So I know there's some direction being sought from us here. I'm not in the position to say let's remove trees because that would really devastate some of these communities that depend on some of these trees for shade, and obviously it helps with their environment here, especially during the heat. But what other actions, can we do? You're asking for direction. I know these are tough decisions to make, but trying to go through that Prop 218, what would be the cost to the city as far as resources to try to get this, maybe try to go this process in a very manner where maybe we can educate a lot of these folks that are within these districts.
Yeah,
I see that Keith has his hand up, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
cut you off. I was
I'll
gonna
just
say.
jump in for a little bit. Nicole may want to go ahead and look at some of those costs. I can't recall what it was. We in the past, when we've done say 30 zones or 30 to 40 zones at one shot, we would actually be bringing in as many staff as we could for several days, stuffing envelopes and the like. So it can run into the thousands of dollars spread out proportionally among the zones based upon how many parcels there are. But I did want to go ahead and mention you may wish to, if you go down the road of removing trees and reducing landscaping, you may wish to have, so to speak, place the warning out there as part of a Prop 218. As Nicole has stated, most of the Prop 218s will fail, but depending upon how we write that, we don't want to advertise, we don't want to threaten, we want to be factual. But depending upon how that is written, the residents, it would be good for them to hear that the results are we will start doing these things, whatever the decision is in terms of what those things are. And then when it fails, the city starts doing those things. The calls will come in because I've been here when that has happened, and they start arriving at, they start going through staff, and inevitably they're hitting council fairly hard. So when that happened the one time, we actually did start going out and fixing the landscaping that we were purposely letting look a little bit more shabby. So if we go down that road, that will come. But regardless, they should probably see they should probably have the facts in hand. If the vote is against increasing the assessment, then the city will have no choice but to go ahead and start bringing it into balance.
I think that would be a prudent approach, is at least to, show what the impacts would be if we cannot meet certain revenues that equal the expenses. I think it would be good to let people know this is what we're trying to propose. This is why. This is what could potentially happen if it doesn't pass. The removal of certain trees and/or certain landscapes, so that the maintenance doesn't exceed the the maintenance, the expenses don't exceed the revenues. But another thing to consider, there's been a conversation regarding a possible measure for parks that we can tie into landscape districts. But again, that would have to go out to the public for a vote. And I'm not sure if we're prepared to do that. Again, we've had several measures that just come across not sure if our community is ready for another tax increase to support these landscaping districts, but certainly I don't want to sit here and just wait till you guys come back in another year or two and tell us that we're now at a $80,000 deficit. Moving on, obviously no cost a living, no COLA added to any of these things. The cost of just the maintaining them goes up. So I would be willing to give you guys direction to follow up on maybe seeking a Prop 218 with some information thrown out to a lot of these constituents. But I mean, unless there's a more practical approach, but sitting here and not doing nothing, not being proactive, I think we're gonna come back here at some point and something has to take place.
Thank you for that. I have a council member Montez for comment.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple things, people paying their fair share, and I'm all for that. Also efficiency. And so help me understand, I know we have tracking, right? So we have to track. So I said when I worked here, I did that a few years. Tracking like who gets paid what or what revenue coming in, how it's going out, the assessment. But absent that, are we like bidding out one zone that has 5 people paying and then having a different contract for the next zone that has 25? Or are we treating it all as one and then trying to kind of go back and say, hey, look, you have 5 contributors, 4 contributors, and this is your share? Because I want people to pay their fair share, but I also want the government to be efficient. That's one of the big criticisms that we get a lot, right? Government is inefficient and there's creating bureaucracy. And I'm not saying that's what we're doing, but is there any way to kind of have the best of both worlds, right? People paying their fair share, but also trying to capture those efficiencies of the combination of the zones without actually combining them? Is that something that is that something impossible that I'm asking for? Is it just not feasible?
I'll try to speak to that. The city, I guess it's summarized around 7-8 years ago, we did have contractors provide the maintenance, and it was bid out every several years. The problem with that is you do get a lowest bid with regard to the contractors, but when you go out to bid, the interpretation of the zone's cost changes from one contract change to another. So one zone might have been 100, the next time it's 50, and another one that was 50 might be 100. By virtue of the Landscape Act, we can't just pass that cost along. The increased cost goes to the general fund. The reduced cost is gonna result in an increased fund reserve in that account, depending upon how, and we can't hold on to that forever. That has to be given back too. So it doesn't, that's one of the difficulties. Keeping it in-house, I think, is the safest way. But yes, the goal is, in terms of efficiency, knowing exactly what amount of labor it takes for each zone. And that is something that is we've been working through for a number of years. I think that Parks is getting a handle on that right now. It's been a difficult process to figure that out. So it looks as though they're getting to that point, and I'm hearing about one zone right now potentially going down, and if that one goes down, then it means that the labor that's out in the field, that cost has to be applied to another zone. I have high hopes that those numbers are going to be figured out, and we know what those are, because we do need to know the accurate numbers per zone when we go to the owners to say your zone costs this much and you're not paying enough.
Okay, so if it's combined, everybody's paying the same thing. So inevitably somebody would subsidize somebody else. Okay.
In the worst case, yes, some zones are being subsidized by property owners in other zones, and that's technically against the Landscape Act of 1972, I think. So I always look at it as we're boxed in from a number of different directions. Trying to get to the answers it's difficult.
No, and I think, yeah, I mean, I feel like we're beating this stuff a little bit, but so I think my recommendation today would be to do small incremental changes and reduction with the intent of showing people, hey, this is what could happen if we're not, willing to pay our fair share with a potential 218 vote coming in the future. But again, I mean, I wish we could gain those efficiencies and combine everything without violating any, what was it, 1918 landscape?
1970 something, yeah.
I was trying to make it a little more interesting, but that would be my recommendation. Like start making some, trees. Because I think I was on staff when that happened, or maybe I wasn't on staff when that happened. But I know there was people started losing their minds when you start doing anything to any trees, like trees dying, or we're not irrigating it. Why did this had the windstorm come through one year and a bunch of trees fell over? That's another issue that we're gonna have to deal with, right? If we start reducing the services to these areas and then we have something like that happen, well, I mean, it's still a liability for us, right?
That's exactly right. Council member, you want to be very careful, especially with regards to trees, not to inadvertently create a dangerous condition of public property.
Okay.
City Manager Rodriguez.
So a couple of options is that we take a hard look as far as staff and eventually we bring something back to council where we start to assess reducing the turfed areas and those areas that are more labor intensive, and potentially even changing some of the landscaping. So absorbing a greater hit now to change some of the more labor intensive landscape areas to less intense kind of landscape areas. But then the upfront cost, of course, that would have to be provided by council. And then also to start to begin the discussion, and this doesn't have to be decided this evening, but at some point when we come back to council, one option is to begin to have community meetings with mail notices to certain zones where some of the zones are combined. So if there's 5,000 parcels, you start to divide the city up and you start having community meetings with those individuals that are impacted. You start having some of the tough discussions. The goal is not to make our city unsightly. That's the last thing any of us want to do, but rather to clearly articulate that we're having some financial challenges and describe and outline how we got to this point, that it was not due to neglect, it was due to changes in the law over, I'm going to say 50 years, assuming it was 1974. And so it's been a long time. The law has evolved and some of the challenges that exist today didn't exist back then. For example, Sigma did not exist. And now trying to comply with that's going to present some challenges. We also have Muelo, which Muelo is very aggressive in terms of where you can irrigate. And so again, I'm not going to say the easy button, but I think one of the big things I think we have to do internally, if council's okay with it, is us taking a hard look at modifying some of the existing landscaping and see if we can make some small gains there. And I do want to emphasize small because I think they would be very small, but I think it's worth our time. And then potentially coming back to council and taking direction and starting I'll call it an LMD roadshow, where we go out to the community, and there would be a lot of meetings. This is probably not one or two meetings. This is probably a series of meetings with potentially some angry community members or some upset community members, where we would provide some background.
Thank you for that, Council Member Montes.
So that kind of sparked something in my head. Would it be beneficial if we had like community service days where people don't want to actually pay dollars, they can come out and do the work themselves, especially in some of those more labor intensive areas where you can have the community come out and do it. Okay, well, we took care of my part, I actually did it, so you don't have to pay anybody else. Yeah, we're gonna have to have staff, but a lot of times we're looking for community service days where we can come out and we do tree planting and things like that. I know it's different. A lot of times we get a lot of stuff donated. But would that be something, or I mean, I know there's an additional cost to that. but we can kind of alleviate some of the labor costs, and especially in specific areas, right? I mean, I try to mow my driveway and my my street in front of my house.
I can speak on that. It happened in one of my district zonings and they all agreed to mow and edge and weed and water. And they did it for about a year. And after that, this guy decided he wasn't going to edge anymore. And that neighbor said they weren't going to mow anymore. And then they were calling the city, you got to start taking care of it and you need to keep it up. And we're like, no, you guys voted no, you were going to handle it. And then there became this big war. And then the council members are getting calls and the city is getting calls. And so people are like, yes, we'll do it, gung ho. But then after a few months or even a year, they're like, no, we're done. And we're kind of stuck with it because we don't want that area to look bad. So we go in and we clean it up and we have to go back to charging and it becomes just a vicious circle. So that'd be a great idea, but I think everybody gets busy in their lives and they say yes and things come up or, they get sick and then, we have neighborhood watches to wrangle everybody together to make it work and it just doesn't happen in the end.
Just
good idea.
Spitballing ideas.
Okay, city manager. So do you have direction from, go ahead, Council Member Rodriguez.
One last question, and I'm not sure if this happened under your administration, Arnoldo, but in the past, in trying to collect for the Prop 218, have we provided some type of communication to these folks regarding the potential loss of maybe landscape maintenance? Have we, and again, this could predate you, Arnoldo, but throughout your administration, have we tried to get out there and really explain the essence of why?
I'm going to defer to Keith if that's okay, because his hand is up.
Yes, in answering your question, there are probably 20 to 30 zones that have turned down assessments, and I'd have to go back, but I think that the notices sent out to them, the ballots indicated that we would be reducing landscape. So I can pull those out myself and Nicole. And Nicole is looking to go ahead and provide some input on that.
Yeah, and I apologize for my camera being off. I'm trying to save some bandwidth here. My internet is being spotty tonight, so I do apologize. But yes, I believe the last time that we did Proposition 218s was in fiscal year 22-23. And if memory serves, we had 19 zones, I believe, that we mailed Proposition 218 ballots to. And part of that ballot is a letter that kind of describes what zone you're in, the bounds, what your assessment currently is, what the proposed increase is, and then what effects could happen if assessments are not increasing. That could, just a general list, since every zone is different, but a general list that you could experience things like reduction in tree trimming, reduction in days of service per month, things like that. And then it has a ballot for them to return. And of the last one we did, no zone reached a majority, so they all failed.
And again, we have a previous time frame with essentially the same thing, and we did attempt to start pulling back, and then it was that attempt of pulling back was abandoned, and the Parks Department attempted to go ahead and make the zones look as good as possible with the landscapers that they had. We may need Fernando or Joe to go ahead and speak to what we're doing right now, but I believe that we're doing the best we can in every zone at the moment. We have probably justification based upon those ballots to pull back in quite a few different zones.
City Manager Rodriguez, do you have a comment?
No, so going back to the mayor's statement is, do we have direction? If I'm hearing the council, or maybe I heard myself, is to begin to take a hard look at where can we potentially identify some efficiencies, and that's potentially eliminating or changing some of the landscaping. My suggestion would be that we not do anything dramatic, but we identify some of those areas. We come back to council, we begin to explore that, and maybe an option is before we make any changes, we have a neighborhood meeting with the impacted district. And we say that this is the plan and this is why we're going to do it. So I think if you tell people up front, people don't like being surprised, especially if they're starting to see that we're transforming turfed areas to non-grassed areas or non-turfed areas. I think it's more digestible to the community, and I think they would appreciate that. And then at that point, that's when we start having the discussions. The reason we're doing this is because of X, and I think we can, and so there's no surprise. And I think the best way to do that oftentimes is it's labor intensive as far as staff goes, but I think having small community meetings, I think is the best approach. I don't think this is going to obviously be decided tonight, and this is a big issue that's been brewing for quite some time. We've talked about it off and on. But I think from staff's perspective, the prudent thing to do is come to council, flag it, because we know it seems like the issue is growing.
Yeah. I'm good with that. How do my colleagues feel with a thumbs up? Okay, unanimous thumbs up. City manager, direction's been given. We're good. At this point, I'd like to open up to public comment. I see none. City clerk, do we have any online or on Zoom? I will close.
Mayor.
Thank you. I will close public comment at that time and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Direction.
Oh, just direction. You're right. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Just direction. Thank you. With that, we will be moving on. Next item, city clerk.
Section F is council member reports, announcements, future agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for the mayor and council members to make brief reports on boards, committees, and other public agencies and at public events to request updates, to initiate future agenda items, and to take action on matters initiated under this section of the agenda. Under this section, the council may take action only on items specifically agendized and which meet other requirements for action.
Thank you for that. I will start with Council Member Villegas. Anything to report?
Oh, nothing to report.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gallegos. I just wanted to congratulate the city in its successful grant application for the planning study regarding the Cleveland Avenue, Yosemite Avenue. I know that I had the privilege of attending the webinar that was provided by the Go Rail team there, but I know our city manager alongside Keith, I'm assuming Ellen, and I'm not sure if MCTC was also involved in that, but I do want to thank the being very persistent. This has been something that we've been wanting to look at for many years. You had brought that up to council as far as the cost and where would we allocate some of those funds. But for now, we got this step out of the way, which is now we can take a study at it and see what it really costs and then go after funds. Because I think prior to this, we were just figuratively putting out numbers in the millions and not having an actual study. I mean, we don't know where we can go after these funds. So again, congratulations on your staff, Ronaldo, and pursuing that. I also wanted to bring up something, looking at some of the general plan amendments that we're doing. I know that our general plan was created back in 2009. And my understanding is that general plans typically have a lifespan of 10 to 15 years. So at some point, I know that we'll have to start bringing that back up. The reason why I say that is because over the years, I've been seeing a lot of general plan amendments to it. Obviously it comes down to land use designations and zoning, right? So this would be something that I'd maybe bring back. I know it's costly, Arnoldo. Right now, can we absorb that? Well, at least bring us back a report, I think, if the council would agree to see what that would look like. And then when are we due for another general plan? And are we required to be compliant? That's another question I had. I don't think we have to, but I think, maybe I'll leave that to you and the experts, maybe our legal team, to tell us how often should we have this general plan. And with that, that's all I have. I know that we're looking forward to meeting up at the California League of Cities. So for those of you that will be attending, looking forward to seeing you there. Hopefully Mr. Zachariah can make it out. Be a great tool. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. Councilwoman Mejia.
Thank you, Mayor. I will present my report in Spanish because of the information that I'm presenting. I know a lot of monolingual Spanish speakers can benefit from it, but we now have Worldly that can translate into English. So este sábado 18 de enero vamos a tener una protesta pacífica. Bueno, hay residentes locales que están organizando una protesta pacífica que va a salir a las 10 de la mañana del Parque de la Millview. Es en contra de las deportaciones que están sucediendo. El destino final sería hasta el Parque de la Corte. Aparte de la protesta, tengo entendido que los organizadores planean presentar maneras sobre cómo las personas pueden tomar acción a largo plazo y cómo obtener ayuda. Un agradecimiento a nuestro jefe de policía del Departamento de la Policía Local por tomar la iniciativa en mantener el orden público y la intención de su personal de involucrarse de una manera respetuosa. Muchas gracias por eso. El miércoles 29 de enero, la Coalición de Justicia para la Comunidad de Madera va a tener un foro para conocer nuestros derechos. Es una reunión pública en donde estarán presentes abogados y líderes comunitarios informando sobre sus derechos de inmigración y la protección en contra de las redadas. Será en el Pan American Community Center en la dirección 703 West Sherwood Way. Es de 6 a 8 el miércoles 29 de enero. Y por último, el martes 11 de febrero de 6 a 8 en la Biblioteca del Condado de Madera, el Pan Valley Institute va a tener una reunión en donde se está invitando a funcionarios públicos para escuchar las preocupaciones de la comunidad sobre las promesas del presidente electo de llevar a cabo deportaciones masivas. Así que será una oportunidad para dar a conocer las preocupaciones que tienen las personas y escuchar directamente de los funcionarios electos sobre cómo abordar el tema. Gracias.
Is that all, Councilwoman
Yes,
Mejia?
it is.
Thank you so much. Moving over to Councilmember Montez.
I hope Wordly got all that because I was trying to follow. But no, thank you to staff for everything you do. That grant was awesome. And I know it's to do a study, but I guess I'm going to put some real figures to what we need to do. Hopefully everybody had a good New Year. For CAPMC report, they are having a job fair Wednesday, February 19th. And that is going to be at 675 South Pine Street. And it is from 2 to 6. So just before this, not our next council meeting, but the following council meeting. Right. February 19th. And that is it for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Evans.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to you, Mr. Zachariah. Congratulations to the city for the grant. Yes, we need that definitely for the Cleveland Avenue. But I would also like to circle back and speak on the issue of the DACA and the DREAM Act in reference to Ms. Bravo asking about the immigration. So if we could have something maybe brought to us in reference to that. I think it was passed in, the DREAM Act was passed in 2017, and that's for the Deferred Act for the children. So if maybe we could have something in reference to that and let us know how we are and if we are a sanctuary city, which this is what I heard, but just protecting some of our residents that's here in the city of Madera and some of the things that are going on right now. So I don't know if that's something everyone else would be willing to hear about, but I'm just kind of worried about my district over there. I may sound selfish, but I just know in my district, I have probably about 98% Latinos. So I just want to make sure that we're taken care of over there. So everyone, can we?
So just to be clear, the direction, Councilwoman Evans, would be to bring back a report giving us information regarding the act, the DACA,
and are we covered?
And what as a sanctuary city
Yes.
to see where we stand.
Yes.
And what approach we're taking.
That we can take, yes, and what we are taking.
Okay. I'm good.
2, 3, 4. There's 5-1.
So just as a matter of clarification, I just want to be clear. I think it would be very easy for staff to come back, give you an update on the sanctuary city status, and what options you may have if you want to proceed further. As far as DACA and DREAM, those are kind of separate issues.
Okay.
And they're more on a federal level.
Okay.
So that it creates some difficulties for us here to be able to do things. So would it be councilwoman and council members, if we did report on the sanctuary city status, came back with a resolution and gave you some options as to what you would like to do, if at all, to do any additional steps? Because my recollection is we are, I believe, a sanctuary city, but I'm not
Yes.
100% sure of that.
2018.
Yes, it's 2018.
Okay, because I have okay, that's fine then, because I have 2017, but okay, that's fine.
Madam Mayor, I
1
also
year.
wanted to just go back. We didn't really have a direction in regards to that general plan to see if we can get a report back. I know that I may have said something, but I didn't have my colleagues whether or not they wanted to bring this back or not.
Well,
So thank you.
3, 4. 5-1.
okay, thank you very much. And also, I would like to just say thank you guys for everyone that did participate and come out to the Christmas extravaganza. I was saved at the very beginning by the mayor because the young lady that I had to sit there to welcome everyone in had not arrived, and the mayor came in and she just kind of stepped up to the plate. But we were blessed. We were able to hand out over 500 toys throughout the city. It was amazing. We had people to donate boxes of food, and we were able to hand those out to the families as well. The pajamas from the PD, thank you so very much. The children really enjoyed that. And it was just it was a beautiful night. And the next morning we met back up out at the golf course, and PD, the sheriff's department, members of the city all showed up, and we caravanned over to District 4, and we just had a hallelujah good time. So thank you everyone that participated. I truly, truly appreciated that. And also, I'm kind of crappy right now, but that's because since Monday, I've been over at the 300 Yosemite. I'm from Los Angeles. You know, I was born there and I have family members there. And many of you know that some of the tragedies that have touched my family members. So I'm doing myself and another young man that home had burnt, Christopher Arias, his house burnt here in Madera a few years back. But we're collecting items, essential items, to take to Los Angeles on Saturday, and also to go down and volunteer. So if anyone would like to bring anything, we're doing the combs and brushes, toothbrush, toothpaste, feminine products, formula, diapers, but basically whatever it is that that kind of rings your heartstrings, because it's just a lot. It's just a lot right now. And I know you guys are all affected by it, but for me, it touches home even more so. So if anyone would like to, between now and Friday evening, we will be accepting items, and it would be appreciated, because I know that I saw that where they were saying that they have clothes and they have other things, but they don't have a lot of essentials. And to just give some normalcy back. One young lady, and Mayor, you brought the puffy little dolly things. And this one child, when she and her family were driving away, she asked her dad, she said, "Daddy, did you get my teddy bear?" And that it broke me. So whatever it is that you guys, if you want to donate, please do, but it would be appreciated. And thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Evans. Again, our prayers are with your family at this time of need. I would like to congratulate the Gill family who got their name on the Madera County Farm Bureau Pavilion, and it was well needed because he's done so much for the sale of the Farm Bureau and been such a dedication of his whole entire family, not just him. So congratulations. On Saturday, the Hall of Fame will be honoring several of our local athletes. So that's pretty exciting. Them that have gone on to different ventures in their life will be coming back that night to be honored. Councilwoman Mahi and I met with Senator Alvarado Gil, who is going to advocate for our city for a lot that we needed. We gave her probably 3 pages of things that were needed here. So I think she walked away with her eyes wide open thinking, oh my goodness. And at this time, I would like to let our Commissioner of the Civil Service, Dennis Smith, his mother passed away and the services were this week. So our prayers are with his family. I would like to tell my colleagues to have safe travels and staff to the conference coming up. And I would like to do a shout out to our intern, and hope I got it right, Chief Overbay, that's in the audience here representing, because our chief and other personnel, firefighters are in the LA area helping assist. That is so well needed. So thank you for being here with us tonight. And again, congratulations to our new city council member, Rohi Zachariah, District 1. Woohoo, get ready. And with that, we have no closed session, and I would like to adjourn this meeting at 8:35, and we'll see you on February 5th, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Oh my gosh.